Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. So today's video is going to be a super quick and easy Mother's Day card. So I'm starting off with, I wanted to use some Distress Oxide inks and my blender brush, and I'm using this stamp set from Simon Says Stamp. It says amazing, loved, intelligent, cherished, beautiful, marvelous, and down the center it creates the word mother. So I think that's so pretty. And I have two pieces of Bristol Smooth paper. And my idea was to kind of create like a halo or center color right in the middle of the paper. So I'm starting in the center and I'm just doing a slow circle, making it sort of like an oval shape. And then I'm going in and just making it as darker in the center and then trying to go out lighter. Okay. And you can just keep blending. You can make it as dark as you want. You could color the entire paper. It all depends on, obviously what you're trying to create. But I'm going to use the stamp set itself as my focal image. We're going to stamp it in Versamark ink and then heat emboss it with some of the Brutus Monroe, the Gilded Sparkle embossing powder, which I'm probably going to have to get some more because I've been using it a lot. It's actually turned into one of my favorites because it's kind of, it seems like it's chunky glitter, and then when it melts, it's super smooth and vibrant. I really love it. But we're just doing the same thing with our second piece. And then, like I said, if there's a spot or a section that's not to your liking, just add some more coloring and keep blending and smoothing. All right, so we have our two pieces. I'm going to hit them with the heat tool and then let them dry. And then we'll stamp them. So we'll be coming back probably in a few seconds. I'm just going to hit it real quick with the heat tool. Because the thing with Distress Oxides, they stay wet a little bit longer than your regular Distress inks. So with them, you definitely want them dry before you start trying to do embossing on them. Okay, so now that they've dried, I've come back and we're going to ink up our stamp. And I'm just checking, see how the wording is like right in the center where all the pink is. I love it. So my EK Success powder tool, the center top part fell off. So now the powder comes out perfectly. I think the new one I bought, I'm just going to put the powder into this one if I can, and or use the same top because it's so much easier with that off for the powder to just come on out. It just makes it so much better. So I wind up doing quite a few of these into cards. And what I found was I definitely needed to ink it up twice. And I needed to ink it up twice because my poor little ink pad here, I keep re-inking it, but it just doesn't feel, as juicy as it was when it was first purchased. You know what I mean? There's just something about a brand new ink pad. So I did have to stamp it twice. And then I'm going to grab a coffee filter. I've been keeping them on my desk now. It makes it a little bit easier since I don't have this one in a container. I can just sprinkle it right over the coffee filter, tap off the excess, and just pour it right back in when I'm done. I'm going to stamp again, so that's why I didn't close it up. Tap it with the powder using the brush just to make sure if there's any spots that are still wet or got any oil for my hands, it doesn't stick, the embossing powder doesn't stick to it. So we're going to ink it up again. And then, of course, stamp down, pressing all over. And I use a little cloth to kind of help give me a little bit of force to make sure it's definitely pressed down all over. And then we're going to ink it up again. And then stamp again. This is probably one of the first times where I was able to stamp twice and my cardstock actually didn't move. And I think it's because A lot of times with the stamp sets, when you're using it for the first time, it sticks to the paper. And so when you pull it apart, it's like, okay, but you don't realize where your paper has moved and it always goes like slightly off. I have that issue sometimes. But this time I was able to stamp twice and they were perfect and nice and pretty. I'm leaving the ink pad out because we're going to do something else, another little umph for our focal image. All right, and it's actually something that I've done before on cards, but I don't do it often. Anyway, I'll show you in a second here once everything is heated up and we're going to go to the next step. And whenever you melt your cardstock, if it looks like it's starting to curve, just hit it a little bit from behind, get it nice and hot, and then when you turn it off, try not to touch your heat emboss, obviously, but I just kind of bend the card while it's, still kind of warm to get it back in its shape. So I'm going to use my ink pad and actually go along 3 of the edges and then sprinkle the gold embossing powder along that edge, and you'll see it's going to create like a little gilded edge. Some a little distressed, some thicker in places than others. Move that out of the way because I don't want to wind up heating all my embossing powder in my filter. And we're just going to heat up the edges. And to me, that little bit right there is just going to give it a little bit of something, something that ties in the card. And then doing it this way, you don't need a matte piece either. It's almost like you're creating one using the embossing powder. And you can do this neatly. You can get the embossing marker or the pens, and you can go and do a nice straight line right along the edge to create, like, if you want something perfect, using the ruler. There's a lot of different options you can do. I like using the ink pad itself because I like kind of the distressed look about it. The fact that it's uneven, or, some like it comes in a little bit, sometimes it don't. Like, I just like the way it looks doing it that way. But like I said, if you're somebody who likes it, to be very neat and very particular, then you can always just get your ruler and your marker and try and do it that way. All right, so we're going to heat this up. And then we'll do the last edge and then get these put together. And then I have a stamp set from Amy R. She had some sentiment stamps that I got so many years ago. Of course, one was a set for mom. And in that, there were a few stamps that were for the inside of the card. And I've already pre-stamped those on some cardstock before starting the video. Now here, I had dropped my ink pad on the cardstock. So you see that little, like, it looks like a little bruised area. I'm just going to wipe that out of the way, making sure not to really take it off of the edge itself, but just to make sure that other area, it's cleared off. And then I'm going to heat up that edge, and then this one is done. So even though I had that boo-boo, a little bit of the ink hit the card, I just wiped off the embossing powder where I didn't want it, and I was able to complete that. And then we just pour in the embossing powder back into the container, close it up, and there you go. So I was getting ready to, like, stop, and then I realized, no, you got to put the card together, silly. So that's why I'm, like, cleaning up stuff and trying to move some stuff around real quick. So I'm going to grab my ATG tape and just tape around all the edges in the center. And then I'm going to add some art glitter glue because it gives me just a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of time to move it around if I need to, if I don't get it on straight. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. If you can, get you some wet glue that allows you that time to move it, you'll find it definitely a help in putting your cards together. All right. I think I pulled it up because I was trying to make sure my stuff was straight. Sorry about that. And then we're going to do the same thing with this one. And then a little bit more of the art glitter glue. And you could use foam tape if you wanted to give it a little bit of lift. You could do all that, you know. I know. I went a little crazy with the wet glue. But it really wasn't a whole lot going down. Like, I don't want you to think like I was going too crazy with it. But yeah, I was a bit excessive there. All right. Once it gets even, go ahead and rub that down. And there you have it. There's the card. And then on the inside, I have the short sentiment. I don't know if this was the long one on the inside. Oh, it's the long one. But the short one says, God could not be everywhere, so he created mothers. I like that one. And that longer one is, a mother laughs at our laughs, sheds our tears, returns our love, fears our fears. She lives our joys, cares our cares, and all our hopes and dreams she shares. I think they're super cute. And so I did probably like, I can't even tell you how many. I think it was a total of 16 cards. And this one I used some platinum embossing powder. And then all of these I did the gold. And this one I want to say was the lime citron, twisted citron. Yeah. So I just picked out a bunch of colors. I did 2 pinks, 2 of each one, so I could have each of the sentiments on the inside. And like I said, for the most part, I used the Gilded Flakes, but on that one set of cards, I did use the Tim Holtz, I want to say it was the Ranger Platinum embossing powder. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share button. And definitely, feel free to leave comments down below. I love reading your comments, and we'll definitely try and respond to everybody. I'm just so grateful for everything. And I hope all you mothers out there have a wonderful Mother's Day. And I will see you guys with our next video.